The moment Benita pushed open those glass doors, she knew something was catastrophically wrong. Instead of nervous college graduates clutching resumes and sweating through their interview suits, she walked into a room filled with women who looked like they'd stepped off Milan runways. Diamond earrings, designer heels, and every single one of them was staring at her like she'd just committed a federal crime. But the real problem? The handsome Korean man at the front of the room, the one with eyes so intense they could probably hack into government databases faster than she could, had already locked his gaze on her. Candidate 37, his deep voice echoed through the marble hall. "You're late. Take your seat." Benita opened her mouth to explain that she was actually here for the software developer internship, not whatever this was. But before she could speak, he raised one elegant hand. "No need for introductions. I've already made my choice." And just like that, Benita, a woman who just wanted a simple summer internship, accidentally became the chosen wife of the most dangerous tech CEO in America. Welcome back to our channel, beautiful people. If you're new here, you've just stumbled into the best corner of the internet for stories that will have you gasping, laughing, and falling in love. Do me a quick favor, hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's about to unfold. Now, let's get into it. The morning had started with such promise. Benita stood in front of her bathroom mirror at exactly 6:37 a.m., applying the finishing touches to her makeup while her phone blasted Afrobeats loud enough to wake her neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, who had already banged on the wall twice. "Sorry, Mrs. Patterson." Benita called out, not sorry at all, as she carefully lined her full lips with a nude pencil. Some of us have dreams to chase. At 24 years old, Benita had already accomplished more than most people twice her age. She'd graduated top of her class from MIT with a double major in computer science and cybersecurity. She'd built her first encryption algorithm at 16, hacked into her high school's grading system at 17, only to change her best friend's unfairly low history grade, she maintained, and had turned down 3 job offers from government agencies who wanted to recruit her for classified projects. But Benita didn't want to work for the government. She didn't want to be stuck in some underground bunker analyzing code for people who would never appreciate her genius. No, Benita wanted to start her own tech security firm. And for that, she needed experience at the best tech company in the country, Kyung Technologies. The internship wasn't about the money. Her parents were both successful doctors who had immigrated to the States 30 years ago and built a comfortable life. Her father still sent her small cash every month that could have covered a luxury apartment in New York. But Benita was stubborn. Proudly, irritatingly stubborn, as her mother loved to remind her. "I will build my empire with my own hands, Mommy," she had declared at Thanksgiving dinner last year, pointing her fork for emphasis. No handouts. No shortcuts. Just pure Benita brilliance. Her mother had simply shaken her head and muttered something in Yoruba about children who refused to listen to wisdom. Now, Benita smoothed down her long dark hair, freshly installed and laid to perfection, "Thank you very much," and examined her outfit. She'd chosen a crisp white button-down shirt, tailored black pants, and sensible but still stylish black heels. Professional. Competent. Ready to dominate. Kyung Technologies won't know what hit them, she told her reflection with a confident smile. "They think they're interviewing me? Oh please. I'm interviewing them." The cab ride to the Kyung Technologies headquarters took exactly 43 minutes, which Benita used to review her portfolio on her tablet and practice her answers to common interview questions. "Tell me about yourself," she murmured, adjusting her tone. "Well, I'm a senior developer with expertise in full-stack development, machine learning, and cybersecurity. I've built systems that Fortune 500 companies now use to protect their data. My code is clean, my solutions are elegant, and my coffee order is oat milk latte with an extra shot, in case you need to know that for team meetings." She paused, reconsidering. Maybe skip the coffee part. Don't want to seem too casual. The cab driver, a middle-aged man named Gerald who had been listening to her mumble for the past 20 minutes, glanced at her in the rearview mirror. "Job interview?" "Internship interview," Benita corrected. "At Kyung Technologies." I'm going to revolutionize their cybersecurity division. Gerald nodded slowly. My daughter works in tech. She says it's brutal for women. Oh, I'm counting on it, Benita smiled. I love proving people wrong. It's basically my cardio. Gerald chuckled and shook his head. Good luck, young lady. Something tells me you don't need it. The Kyung Technologies headquarters was exactly what Benita had expected, a gleaming tower that stretched toward the sky like a monument to innovation. The building was located in the heart of downtown Los Angeles, surrounded by other corporate giants, but somehow standing taller than the rest. Benita wasn't intimidated. She was excited. She thanked Gerald, tipped him generously through the app, and stepped onto the sidewalk with her shoulders back and her head high. This was her moment. She had prepared for weeks. She had researched every project Kyung Technologies had ever launched. She knew the names of every executive, the details of every acquisition, the rumors about their upcoming initiative that would supposedly change the world. What she didn't know is that she was about to walk through the wrong door. In her defense, the building was confusing. The main entrance was under renovation, covered in scaffolding and plastic sheets, with a small sign directing visitors to use the East Wing entrance for all appointments. Benita followed the signs, turned the corner, and pushed open a heavy glass door. And immediately realized she had made a terrible mistake. The lobby she walked into was not the standard corporate reception area she had expected. There were no potted plants. No generic artwork. No bored receptionists scrolling through their phone. Instead, the space looked like something out of a royal palace. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, fresh flowers were arranged in massive gold vases that lined the walls. And in the center of the room, arranged in a perfect semicircle of velvet chairs, sat approximately 30 women. Beautiful women. Immaculately dressed women. Women who were currently turning to stare at Benita with expressions ranging from confusion to outright hostility. Oh, hell no, Benita whispered under her breath. Before she could turn around and escape, a tall, elegant woman in a sleek black dress appeared at her side. The woman had silver hair pulled back in a bun and wore designer glasses. You must be candidate 37, the woman said crisply, consulting a tablet in her hands. You're late. The viewing has already begun. I think there's been a mistake, Benita started, but the woman was already gripping her elbow and steering her toward the semicircle of chairs. No excuses, please. Mr. Kyung specifically requested that all candidates be present. Take the empty seat in the back row. But I'm not, Benita tried to defend herself. Sit. Now. There was something in the woman's voice, a quiet authority that brooked no argument, that made Benita's feet move before her brain could catch up. She found herself sinking into a chair between a stunning woman with blonde hair and suspicious eyes, and another woman who was openly applying lip gloss and ignored her completely. What the hell is going on? Benita hissed at the blonde woman. The woman gave her a slow, contemptuous once-over. You don't know? How did you even get an invitation? I didn't get an invitation. I'm here for an internship interview. An internship? The woman laughed, a high, artificial sound. Oh, that's precious. Honey, this isn't an internship interview. This is the selection. The what now? But before the blonde could answer, the room fell silent. Every woman straightened in her chair. Every eye turned toward the front of the room. And then he walked in. Ryan Kyung was one of the most handsome men Benita had ever seen. He was tall, easily over 6 feet, with broad shoulders and the kind of athletic build that suggested he actually used that expensive gym membership. His black hair was perfectly styled, swept back from a face that featured sharp cheekbones, a strong jaw, and the kind of full lips that made Benita momentarily forget how to breathe. But it was his eyes that truly captivated her. Dark, intense, and impossibly deep, they scanned the room with the calculating precision of a man who was used to finding flaws in everything he saw. He wore a gray suit that fit him like it had been sewn directly onto his body, with no tie and the top button of his white shirt undone. It was a look that said, I'm a billionaire, but I'm also approachable. Benita wasn't buying it. Behind him walked a shorter man with glasses and a nervous expression, clutching a stack of folders like his life depended on it. Ladies, Ryan Kyung's voice filled the room. Thank you for your patience. I know the selection process is unconventional, but I've always believed that the traditional methods of finding a suitable partner are inefficient, outdated, a waste of everyone's time. Selection? Partner? Benita's brain was working overtime trying to make sense of what she was hearing. This is the final round, Ryan continued, beginning to pace in front of the assembled women like a general inspecting his troops. You've all passed the initial screenings, background checks, medical evaluations, financial assessments, compatibility algorithms. What remains now is instinct. One of the women raised her hand. Mr. Kyung, will we have an opportunity to speak with you individually? Eventually. But first, I prefer to observe. To see how you carry yourselves when you don't think you're being judged. His lips curved into something that might have been a smile if it had reached his eyes. You're always being judged. Benita couldn't help herself. She snorted. It was a small sound, barely audible, but in the cathedral silence of that room, it might as well have been a gunshot. Every head turned toward her. Every eye widened. Ryan's gaze, which had been sweeping across the room with practiced boredom, suddenly stopped. Fixed. Locked onto her like a missile finding its target. Something amusing, he asked, his voice deceptively soft. Benita knew she should apologize. She should shrink back into her chair, mumble an excuse, play the part of the submissive candidate who knew her place. But Benita had never played a submissive role in her entire life. And she wasn't about to start now. Actually, yes, she said, standing up from her chair because if she was going to make a scene, she was going to make a scene properly. This entire situation is amusing. You've got 30 women sitting here like show ponies at an auction while you pace around deciding which one is worthy of your attention. It's like a bad reality TV show, except there aren't even cameras to make it worthwhile. The room gasped collectively. The blonde woman next to her looked like she might faint. The nervous man with the folders actually dropped several of them, papers scattering across the marble floor. But Ryan Kyung didn't look angry. If anything, the corner of his mouth twitched upward. You're not on the original list, he said, tilting his head slightly. I memorized every face. You're new. I'm also in the wrong room, Benita replied. I'm here for the software developer internship. Your renovation signs sent me through the wrong door, and before I could explain the mistake, your very efficient assistant practically threw me into this chair. The internship interviews are in the West Wing. Yes, I'm aware of that now. And yet you're still standing here, arguing with me, instead of quietly excusing yourself and leaving. Benita opened her mouth, then closed it. He had a point, didn't he? She could have slipped out the moment she realized the mistake. Could have mumbled an apology and disappeared. But something about this entire situation, the absurdity of it, the arrogance of it, the way these women sat here like their value was determined by whether a rich man chose them, made her blood boil. Maybe I'm staying to tell you that this whole setup is ridiculous, she said. You're a tech CEO, right? The head of one of the most innovative companies in the world? And this is how you find a wife? Through a selection process like you're choosing a new office chair. I assure you, the chairs in my office cost significantly more. That's not. Benita threw her hands up. That's not the point. Then what is the point? The point is that marriage shouldn't be a corporate merger. You can't algorithm your way to love. You can't run compatibility assessments and background checks and expect to find someone who will actually care about you as a person, not just as a CEO with a black Amex card. The room was so silent that Benita could hear her own heartbeat. The other candidates were staring at her with expressions of horror, admiration, and something that looked suspiciously like jealousy. Ryan Kyung, meanwhile, had stopped pacing. He stood directly in front of her now, close enough that she could smell his perfume. What's your name? He asked quietly. Benita. Benita Adeola. And you said you're here for the developer internship? Yes. Senior developer position. Your cybersecurity team. Something flickered in his eyes. Interest? Amusement? It was impossible to tell. His face was a mask of perfect control. Secretary Park, he said, not taking his eyes off Benita. The silver-haired woman appeared at his side instantly. Cancel the rest of the selection process. The room erupted. Women began talking over each other, their voices rising in confusion and outrage. But Ryan raised one hand, and silence fell immediately. I've made my choice. Mr. Kyung, Secretary Park said carefully, the protocols require. I am the protocol, Secretary Park. And I've decided. He smiled at Benita, a real smile this time. Candidate 37. The wrong door hacker who thinks I can't algorithm my way to love. She's the one. Benita's brain short-circuited. Excuse me? No. No. I just said I'm here for an internship. A job. Not. She gestured wildly at the room, whatever this is. And you'll have your internship, Ryan said smoothly. The position in my cybersecurity team. It's yours. But you'll also participate in the selection process. 1 month. If, at the end of that month, you still want nothing to do with me, you're free to leave with a full recommendation letter and all the experience your resume could possibly need. And if I refuse? Then you're free to leave now. No internship. No recommendation. Just a story about the time you accidentally crashed a billionaire's wife selection and ran away. It was manipulation. Benita knew it was manipulation. This man had clearly spent his entire life getting exactly what he wanted through a carefully calibrated combination of charm, power, and strategic pressure. But it was also the best opportunity she'd ever been offered. A month at Kyung Technologies, working with the most advanced systems in the industry, with a personal recommendation from the CEO himself, that was worth more than 2 years at any other company. And besides, she thought with a spark of her trademark stubbornness, she could handle one arrogant billionaire. She'd handled worse. Fine, she heard herself say. 1 month. But I'm not going to fall in love with you. Ryan's smile widened. We'll see about that, Benita Adeola. The next 24 hours were the most surreal of Benita's entire life. After the selection ceremony ended, with the other candidates being escorted out amid whispered complaints and venomous glares, Secretary Park had taken Benita to a private office to explain the terms of participation. You will be provided with living accommodations in the Kyung residence, Secretary Park recited, reading from her tablet. A private suite on the 3rd floor. All meals will be prepared by the household chef, unless you specify dietary restrictions. A car and driver will be available for your personal use. And a clothing allowance of $500,000 has been deposited into your account for any wardrobe adjustments you may require. Benita choked on the water she'd been drinking. $500,000? For clothes. Mr. Kyung expects his partner to represent the company at various public events. Your current wardrobe, while... Secretary Park paused, giving Benita's interview outfit a look that clearly conveyed her opinion. Practical, may not be suitable for such occasions. I look professional. You look like a paralegal. We're aiming for future wife of a billionaire. There's a difference. Despite herself, Benita laughed. She was starting to like Secretary Park. Fine. But I'm not changing who I am. No amount of designer dresses is going to turn me into one of those silent, smiling trophy wives. I don't think anyone who witnessed your outburst today would ever accuse you of being silent, Ms. Adeola. Good. Now, when do I start my actual job? The internship that I actually came here for. Tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. sharp. You'll report to the Cybersecurity Division on the 15th floor. Mr. Choi will be your direct supervisor, though Mr. Kyung has requested regular updates on your progress. Of course he has, Benita muttered. That evening, a black car arrived at Benita's apartment to collect her belongings. She'd called her best friend, Keisha, to help her pack, and the two of them had spent the entire time oscillating between shock, excitement, and disbelief. Let me get this straight, Keisha said, folding Benita's extensive collection of graphic tees into a suitcase. You went to apply for an internship, accidentally walked into a wife selection ceremony, called out the billionaire CEO for being ridiculous, and now you're moving into his mansion and working at his company? When you say it like that, it sounds crazy. Because it is crazy. Keisha threw a shirt at her. Benita, this is the kind of thing that happens in movies. Bad movies. The kind we watch on Netflix while drinking wine and saying who would fall for that. I'm not falling for anything. It's a business arrangement. 1 month of living in a mansion, working my dream job, and then walking away with the best recommendation letter in corporate history. Keisha gave her a knowing look. And this CEO, what does he look like? Benita busied herself with folding a sweater. That's not relevant. Oh my God. He's hot, isn't he? He's hot, and you're going to fall in love with him, and I'm going to be a bridesmaid at your wedding and… Keisha. Fine, fine. Just be careful, okay? Keisha's expression softened. You're my girl. I don't want some rich pretty boy breaking your heart. Nobody breaks this heart. It's protected by top-tier encryption. The Kyung residence was not a house. It was not even a mansion, really. It was more like a small country that happened to have a roof. Located in the hills above Los Angeles, the estate sprawled across several acres of perfectly manicured grounds. The main house was a stunning blend of modern architecture and traditional Asian influences, with clean lines, floor-to-ceiling windows, and a serene water feature that welcomed visitors at the entrance. Benita arrived as the sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink that reflected off the building's glass surfaces. A team of staff members was waiting to greet her, including a housekeeper named Mrs. Hammond, who looked like she could organize an entire army with one hand while baking a perfect soufflé with the other. Ms. Adeola, welcome to the Kyung residence, Mrs. Hammond said warmly. I'll show you to your suite. Mr. Kyung is in a meeting this evening, but has requested that you join him for breakfast tomorrow morning at 7. Before my first day of work? Mr. Kyung believes in starting important things early. The suite they showed her to was larger than her entire apartment. It had a king-size bed with sheets so soft that Benita actually gasped when she touched them, a walk-in closet that was already partially filled with designer clothes, presumably the wardrobe allowance at work, a private bathroom with a soaking tub and a shower that had more settings than her laptop, and a sitting area with a desk that overlooked the city lights below. If there's anything you need, simply press this button, Mrs. Hammond said, indicating a small panel by the door. The kitchen is open 24 hours. We have a fully equipped gym, a swimming pool, and a meditation garden if you require relaxation. Do you also have a reality check service? Because I'm pretty sure I'm dreaming. Mrs. Hammond smiled. You're not the first person to say that, though you're the first to have arrived in the manner that you did. Word travels fast, huh? Mr. Kyung's household is very efficient with information. After Mrs. Hammond left, Benita spent an hour exploring her new temporary home, opening drawers and closets like a kid on Christmas morning. The clothes that had been provided were stunning, tailored pieces in bold colors like lilac, burnt orange, and classic black that would flatter her dark skin beautifully. Whoever had done the shopping clearly knew what they were doing. She pulled out her laptop and immediately got to work researching Ryan Kyung. If she was going to survive this month, she needed to know everything about her opponent. Ryan Kyung, 32. Founder and CEO of Kyung Technologies. Born in Seoul, South Korea, moved to America at age 10 when his father started a small tech repair shop in Los Angeles. Graduated from Stanford at 20, launched his first startup at 22, sold it for $300 million at 25. Built Kyung Technologies from the ground up, now valued at over $15 billion. The man was a certified genius. His IQ had been tested at 167. He held patents for over 40 different technologies. He spoke 5 languages fluently and was reportedly learning a 6th, Arabic, just for fun. But his personal life was notably private. No scandals. No leaked photos. No tell-all interviews from ex-girlfriends. Just the occasional appearance at charity events and tech conferences, always alone, always perfectly composed. Who are you, Ryan Kyung? Benita murmured, staring at his picture on her screen. And why are you so desperate for a wife that you're running a selection process? She fell asleep that night with more questions than answers, and dreams full of dark eyes and dangerous smiles. Breakfast the next morning was served in a sun-drenched dining room with views of the mountains. Benita arrived at exactly 7, dressed in one of the new outfits that had been provided, a tailored cobalt blue blazer over a white silk blouse and perfectly fitted black pants. She'd done her makeup carefully, her long dark hair falling in sleek waves past her shoulders. Ryan was already seated at the head of the table, reading something on a tablet while drinking what appeared to be green tea. He looked up when she entered, and for a moment, something flickered in his expression. "You're punctual," he said. "You sound surprised." "I've learned never to expect anything when it comes to you, Benita." He gestured to the seat beside him. "Please, sit. I hope you like traditional Korean breakfast. Though if you prefer something else, the chef can prepare whatever you'd like." The table was covered with small dishes, rice, soup, various vegetables, grilled fish, and an array of banchan that looked and smelled incredible. Benita's stomach growled appreciatively. "This is perfect," she said, taking her seat. "I love Korean food. My college roommate was Korean. She taught me to appreciate a proper breakfast. Most Americans prefer something simpler in the morning. I'm Nigerian American. We don't do simple meals. Every dish is an event." Ryan smiled at that, a genuine expression that softened the sharp lines of his face. "Tell me about yourself, Benita. The real version. Not the resume. I thought you already ran background checks. I know facts. Your education, your work history, your family. I don't know you." Benita considered the question while spooning rice into a small bowl. "I'm stubborn. Annoyingly so, according to my mother. I don't back down from challenges even when I should. I talk too much when I'm nervous, though I'd appreciate it if you didn't use that against me. I believe that technology should be used to help people, not exploit them. And I make terrible decisions sometimes, like walking through wrong doors and agreeing to 1-month arrangements with billionaires I just met. That last one doesn't seem like a terrible decision." The jury's still out. They ate in comfortable silence for a few minutes. Benita was surprised by how easy it was to be around him. She'd expected arrogance, condescension, the kind of behavior that billionaires in movies always displayed. Instead, Ryan seemed normal. "Can I ask you something?" she said finally. "You're going to ask regardless of my answer." "True. Why are you doing this?" "The selection, I mean. You're rich, successful, objectively attractive. Don't let that go to your head. You could have anyone you want." "Why the elaborate process?" Ryan set down his chopsticks and looked at her directly. "Because I don't have time for traditional dating. Because everyone who approaches me wants something: money, connections, status. Because I needed a system that would filter out the gold diggers, the social climbers, the people who see me as a prize to be won rather than a person to be known. And walking into a room full of pre-vetted women and picking one by instinct is better? It wasn't supposed to be instinct." He smiled slightly. "But then you walked through the wrong door." "What was it about me?" "I was rude. I insulted your process. I was wearing an interview outfit instead of designer clothes." "Exactly." Benita frowned. "That doesn't make sense." "It makes perfect sense. Every other woman in that room was performing, playing a role, saying and doing exactly what they thought I wanted to see. But you." He leaned forward slightly, his eyes intense. "You said what you actually thought. You challenged me. You didn't care that I could end your career with a single phone call. To be fair, I didn't know you could end my career with a single phone call. Would it have changed anything?" She considered the question honestly. "No, probably not. I have a problem with authority figures who think they're above criticism." I noticed. The moment stretched between them, charged with something that Benita refused to name. She was the first to look away, suddenly very interested in her bowl of soup. "For the record," she said, "I'm still not going to fall in love with you." "So you keep saying." "I mean it, Benita." He waited until she looked up again. "I'm not expecting you to fall in love with me. That's not what this month is about." "Then what is it about?" "Possibility." He stood, buttoning his suit jacket with elegant efficiency. "The car will take you to work. I have meetings all day, but I'll see you at dinner. Secretary Park will brief you on the week's schedule." "Schedule?" "There's a schedule. Several public events. A charity gala, a tech conference, a dinner with international investors. You'll need to accompany me." "As your, what exactly?" "As whatever you want to be called. Partner. Associate. The woman who accidentally became a candidate and won't stop challenging every word I say." He smiled. "Personally, I prefer that last one." And with that, he was gone, leaving Benita alone with a table full of delicious food and a head full of confusion. "Possibility," she muttered to herself. "What kind of ridiculous answer is that?" But somewhere deep inside, In a place she wasn't ready to acknowledge, something warm and curious had begun to bloom. The cybersecurity division of Kyung Technologies was everything Benita had dreamed of and more. Located on the 15th floor of the main building, it occupied an entire wing of the tower, filled with state-of-the-art workstations, holographic displays, and enough processing power to make any hacker weep with joy. The team was diverse, approximately 50 people from various backgrounds and countries, all united by their love of code and their dedication to protecting the company's assets. Her supervisor, Mr. Choi, was a stocky Korean man in his 50s with silver-streaked hair and a perpetual expression of skeptical amusement. He'd been with Ryan Kyung since the early days, back when Kyung Technologies was just a dream and a borrowed server. "So you're the woman who disrupted the selection," Mr. Choi said when Benita reported for her first day. "I heard you called the CEO ridiculous to his face." "I may have used that word, yes." "Good." Mr. Choi's face broke into a wide grin. "That man needs someone to tell him the truth. He's been surrounded by yes-men for too long." He clapped her on the shoulder. "I think you and I are going to get along just fine." Benita was given a workstation in the corner of the floor, next to a window that offered a stunning view of the Los Angeles skyline. Her first assignment was relatively simple: review the security logs from the past month and identify any anomalies that the automated systems might have missed. It was the kind of work that most people found tedious. Benita found it thrilling. Within 2 hours, she'd identified 3 potential vulnerabilities in the system's perimeter defenses, flagged 17 suspicious login attempts that had been marked as false positives, and discovered a backdoor that someone, whether internal or external, had been slowly, carefully, patiently building over the past 6 months. "Mr. Choi," she called across the floor. "I think we have a problem." What followed was a whirlwind of activity that lasted the entire day. Benita walked the team through her findings, explaining how the backdoor worked, how it had been hidden, and how close it had come to being activated. "If this had gone live, they would have had access to everything," she said, pointing to the holographic display she'd commandeered. "Financial records, client data, proprietary code. The entire company would have been compromised." "How did you find this?" one of the senior developers asked. "Our systems have been scanning for anomalies continuously. We never caught it. Because it was designed to look normal. See here." Benita highlighted a section of code. They used a polymorphic algorithm that mimicked legitimate traffic patterns. Every time the system ran a diagnostic, the backdoor would reconfigure itself to match expected behavior. It was brilliant, actually. Whoever built this knew exactly what they were doing. "Can you trace it? Find out who's responsible." Benita cracked her knuckles. "Give me 24 hours. She worked through lunch. She worked through dinner. At some point, someone, probably Mrs. Hammond, based on the quality of the food, had delivery brought to her workstation, a full meal that she ate without tasting, her eyes never leaving the screens. The trail was complex, bouncing through servers in 12 different countries, using VPNs and proxy chains that would have made most trackers give up in frustration. But Benita wasn't most trackers. She was stubborn, remember? At 11:47 p.m., she found it. Staring at the final destination of her digital breadcrumb trail. The attack hadn't come from outside the company. It had come from inside. Specifically, from a computer in the legal department. More specifically, from a computer registered to a man named Harrison Webb, senior legal counsel and, according to company records, one of Ryan Kyung's most trusted advisors. Benita leaned back in her chair and let out a long breath. This was bigger than a security breach. This was corporate espionage at the highest level. And she was going to have to tell the CEO that someone he trusted had betrayed him. She found Ryan in his private office on the top floor, still working despite the late hour. He looked up when she knocked, his expression shifting from tired concentration to alert curiosity. "Benita, it's midnight. Shouldn't you be resting? I found something." She walked in without waiting for an invitation and dropped a tablet on his desk. "Someone has been building a backdoor into your system. I traced it. You're not going to like where it leads." Ryan picked up the tablet and began scrolling through her report. His face remained impassive, But Benita noticed his jaw tightening, his knuckles whitening where he gripped the device. Harrison Webb, he said finally, his voice flat. You know him? He's been with me for 8 years. He helped me structure the company's original contracts. He knows more about Kyung Technology's legal framework than anyone except me. Ryan set down the tablet and looked at her. Are you certain? The evidence is conclusive. I can walk you through the technical details if you want. No. I trust your analysis. He stood, walking to the window and staring out at the city lights below. Do you know why I created the selection process, Benita? The real reason. You said you didn't have time for traditional dating. That's part of it. The other part is that I don't trust easily. I've been burned before. By investors. By partners. By people I thought were friends. He turned to face her. And now, apparently, by people I considered family. Harrison was at my wedding. My parents' wedding. Your parents are married? Were. My father passed away 5 years ago. Harrison was there for me through all of it. The funeral. The grief. The restructuring of the company afterward. Ryan's voice was carefully controlled, but Benita could hear the pain beneath it. And now I find out he's been selling me out. The question is, to whom? And why? I can dig deeper. Find out who he's been communicating with, what information he's already shared, how deep this goes. It could be dangerous. Whoever's behind this won't appreciate being discovered. Then they shouldn't have left such sloppy breadcrumbs. Benita smiled grimly. I'm not afraid of danger, Ryan. I'm afraid of leaving a job unfinished. He studied her for a long moment, and she had the unsettling sensation that he was seeing past her confident exterior to something more vulnerable beneath. You're remarkable, do you know that? He said quietly. I've been told. Usually right before someone asks me to fix an impossible problem. I'm not asking you to fix it. I'm asking if you want to. There's a difference. Benita considered the question. She thought about her internship, about her plans for her own company, about all the reasons she should stay in her lane and let the professionals handle this. And then she thought about the look on Ryan's face when he'd read Harrison's name. The betrayal. The hurt. The loneliness of a man who had built an empire but couldn't trust anyone in it. I want to, she said. Let me help. Something shifted in Ryan's expression. Not quite a smile, but something softer. More open. Then welcome to the real work of Kyung Technologies, Benita Adeola. He extended his hand. Partner. She shook it. Don't call me partner. It sounds weird. What should I call you then? I don't know. Cybersecurity consultant? Problem solver? The woman who's going to destroy whoever is trying to take you down. That last one is a bit wordy. Then just call me Benita. And let's get to work. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of code, investigation, and surprisingly comfortable cohabitation. Benita threw herself into tracking the conspiracy with the same intensity she brought to everything. She worked alongside Ryan's most trusted security personnel, a small team that had been secretly assembled after her discovery, tracing the connections from Harrison Webb to an international consortium of competitors who had been trying to steal Kyung Technology's proprietary AI research. The more she uncovered, the more dangerous the situation became. This wasn't just corporate espionage. It was a coordinated attack on everything Ryan had built, orchestrated by people who were willing to destroy lives to get what they wanted. But amidst the investigation, something else was happening. Something Benita was trying very hard not to acknowledge. She was starting to like Ryan Kyung. Not just as a business associate. Not just as the CEO who had inadvertently given her the opportunity of a lifetime. But as a person. A real, complicated, surprisingly funny person who made her laugh during late-night work sessions and brought her coffee exactly how she liked it, oat milk latte, extra shot, without her ever having to ask. You're staring at him again, Mr. Choi said one afternoon, sliding into the chair beside her workstation. I am not staring. I'm thinking. About him. About the security protocols for the Singapore server farm. While looking at his photo on your screen, Benita quickly minimized the window she'd been examining, a corporate profile of Ryan from a tech magazine that she had definitely pulled up for research purposes only. I was comparing facial recognition patterns. Mr. Choi's eyes twinkled. You know, in all the years I've known that man, I've never seen him as happy as he's been these past 2 weeks. That has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with you. He actually laughed at lunch yesterday. Laughed. I almost dropped my chopsticks. Maybe he heard a funny joke. The joke was about server maintenance. No one laughs at server maintenance jokes. Before Benita could respond, her phone buzzed with a reminder. The charity gala. Tonight. The first public event where she would appear as Ryan's official companion. I need to go get ready, she said, grateful for the excuse. Benita. Mr. Choi's voice stopped her. Don't fight it so hard. Sometimes the best things in life come from walking through the wrong door. The dress that had been selected for the gala was stunning, a deep midnight blue that made her dark skin glow, with a structured bodice and a flowing skirt that moved like water when she walked. Her long dark hair was styled in elegant waves, pinned back on one side with a diamond clip. She looked, she had to admit, incredible. Like a queen. Like someone who belonged at the side of a billionaire CEO. The thought made her stomach flutter with nerves. Ryan was waiting at the bottom of the grand staircase when she descended, and the expression on his face when he saw her made every moment of preparation worth it. You're beautiful, he said simply. I know. She smiled at his surprised laugh. What? I'm not going to pretend I don't look amazing. This dress cost more than my student loans. Actually, significantly more. I don't want to know the exact number. Probably wise. The gala was held at a historic estate in Beverly Hills, transformed for the evening into a glittering wonderland of flowers, lights, and impossibly elegant people. Ryan guided her through the crowd with a hand at the small of her back, introducing her to tech executives, investors, politicians, and celebrities whose names she vaguely recognized from magazine covers. Everyone keeps asking who you are, Ryan murmured in her ear during a rare moment alone. What are you telling them? The truth. That you're a cybersecurity consultant working on a special project for the company. And also your selection winner? That part I've kept private. For now. He took 2 glasses of champagne from a passing waiter and handed her one. Though I suspect the gossip blogs will have theories by tomorrow morning. Great. Just what I need. The internet's speculating about my relationship status. Are you regretting our arrangement? Benita looked up at him, ready with a sarcastic response, and found herself momentarily speechless. He was watching her with such intensity, such genuine concern, that all her defensive jokes died on her lips. No, she said honestly. I'm not. Something warm passed between them. Something that felt like possibility. The moment was interrupted by a smooth, cultured voice. Ryan, there you are. I've been looking for you all evening. They turned to find a tall man approaching, silver-haired and distinguished in a way that suggested old money and older entitlement. Behind him, looking uncomfortable, was a woman who had to be his wife, tiny, delicate, and wearing an expression of resigned boredom. Senator Morrison, Ryan said, his voice shifting into professional neutrality. A pleasure to see you. The pleasure is mine. I wanted to discuss that cybersecurity contract we mentioned last quarter. My people have some concerns about the implementation timeline. Perhaps we could schedule a meeting. Nonsense. Now is perfect. Your lovely companion won't mind, will she? The senator barely glanced at Benita, clearly dismissing her as irrelevant. She felt her temper spark. Actually, I might mind. We were in the middle of a conversation. The senator blinked, as if surprised that she could speak. I'm sorry, dear, but this is important business. I'm sure you understand. I understand that you interrupted without asking, assumed your business was more important than our conversation, and called me dear despite having no idea who I am. Benita smiled sweetly. But please, continue explaining how my time is less valuable than yours. The senator's face flushed. His wife, behind him, looked like she was trying very hard not to laugh. Ryan, the senator said stiffly, perhaps you should teach your girlfriend some manners. I would, Ryan replied, and Benita could hear the amusement he was barely containing, but she's not my girlfriend. She's my consultant. And she has a point, this is neither the time nor the place for business discussions. My office will call your office to schedule something appropriate. The senator sputtered for a moment before retreating with muttered excuses about needing another drink. His wife paused long enough to give Benita a small, approving nod before following him. "You just embarrassed a United States senator," Ryan said. He embarrassed himself. I just helped him realize it. That contract is worth $40 million. Then maybe he should learn how to ask nicely. Ryan shook his head, but he was smiling. Really smiling, the kind of smile that crinkled the corners of his eyes and made him look 10 years younger. "You're going to be the death of my business relationships, Benita Adeola. But at least you'll die entertained." They were interrupted again, this time by a commotion near the entrance. Security personnel were moving purposefully through the crowd, their expressions alert and concerned. Ryan's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and all the warmth drained from his face. "We need to leave. Now." "What's happening?" "Harrison Webb. He's disappeared. And according to our surveillance, he was last seen heading toward the Kyung Technologies server farm. If he activates the back door, he won't have a chance. But we need to move." They slipped out a side entrance, where a black car was already waiting. Ryan made calls the entire ride to the server farm, coordinating with his security team, while Benita pulled up schematics on her tablet and planned their approach. "I should have seen this coming," Ryan said as the car sped through the night. He knew we were onto him. He must have had contingencies in place. He had 6 months to prepare. We've only had 2 weeks to catch up. It's not enough. Then we'll make it enough. Benita reached over and took his hand, surprising them both. "We've got this, Ryan. Together." He looked at their intertwined fingers for a long moment. "Together," he repeated quietly. The server farm was a nondescript building in an industrial area outside the city, surrounded by security fences and monitored by more cameras than most military installations. By the time they arrived, Ryan's team had already secured the perimeter. "He's inside," the security chief reported. "3rd floor. We have him surrounded, but he's threatening to upload a virus that will corrupt everything." "Not if I get to the system first," Benita said, already moving toward the entrance. "Ryan, I need you to keep him talking. Buy me time." "What are you going to do?" "Something stupid and brilliant. My specialty." She ran through the building, her designer heels abandoned somewhere near the entrance, her expensive dress hiked up around her thighs for mobility. The 3rd floor was a maze of server racks and cooling systems, humming with the sound of countless machines processing unimaginable amounts of data. Harrison Webb was standing at a terminal in the center of the room, typing furiously. He looked up when she entered, his face twisted with desperation and fear. "Stay back. I'll do it. I'll destroy everything." "You won't," Benita said calmly. "Because if you destroy everything, you lose your leverage. And leverage is the only thing keeping you alive right now. You don't know what you're talking about. I know that you sold out the man who trusted you. I know that you've been working with a consortium that doesn't care about you. They care about what you can give them. And I know that the moment you're no longer useful, they'll throw you away like yesterday's code." Harrison's hand trembled over the keyboard. "You don't understand. I didn't have a choice. They threatened my family. Then let us help you. It's too late for that. It's never too late. But if you press that button, it will be. Ryan Kyung is the most powerful man in tech. If anyone can protect your family, it's him. But only if you give him a reason to." For a long moment, Harrison stood frozen. Benita could hear her own heartbeat, could feel the weight of millions of dollars and countless futures hanging in the balance. Then, slowly, Harrison's shoulders slumped. His hand dropped from the keyboard. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I'm so sorry." Security personnel swarmed in, securing Harrison and the terminal. Ryan appeared at Benita's side, his face a mixture of relief and residual tension. "Is it over?" he asked. "The immediate threat is. But there's still a conspiracy to unravel. We'll need to find out who is threatening his family, who else is involved, how deep this goes. Will you help me?" Benita looked at him, really looked at him. At the man behind the billionaire. The person behind the power. The heart behind the walls he'd built to protect himself. "Yes," she said. "I'll help you." The conspiracy took another 2 weeks to fully unravel. It turned out that the consortium targeting Kyung Technologies was connected to a rival tech firm in Seoul, run by a man who had been in competition with Ryan's father decades ago. The grudge had passed down through generations, festering and growing until it became a coordinated effort to destroy everything the Kyung family had built. Benita worked side by side with Ryan through all of it. Late nights in the office, tracking digital breadcrumbs. Early mornings coordinating with international law enforcement. Meals taken at desks, interrupted by phone calls and emergencies. And somewhere in the middle of all that chaos, something shifted. They stopped pretending. It happened gradually. Stolen glances that became long looks. Accidental touches that became intentional. Late-night conversations that strayed from work to life, from strategy to dreams, from the professional to the deeply personal. "I never wanted to be a CEO," Ryan confessed one night. They were sitting in his office at 3 a.m., surrounded by empty coffee cups and case files. "When I was young, I wanted to be a composer. I used to spend hours at the piano, creating songs that no one would ever hear." "Why did you stop?" "My father got sick. The business needed me. My dreams seemed irresponsible in the face of our family's survival." "Do you regret it?" Ryan considered the question. "I used to. But now..." He looked at her with an expression that made her heart skip. "Now I think maybe the path I was meant to take just took a little longer to reveal itself." "That's very philosophical for 3 a.m. You're the one who asked the question." "Fair point." Benita hesitated, then asked the question that had been burning in her mind for days. "The selection. You said you made your choice on instinct. What did you actually see when I walked through that door?" Ryan was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was soft. "I saw someone who wasn't afraid. Of me, of the situation, of speaking her truth even when it was inconvenient. I saw someone who would challenge me rather than worship me. Who would tell me when I was wrong. Who would see me as a person, not just a prize." That's a lot to see in 30 seconds. Some things don't take long to recognize. They just feel, right? The word hung between them, heavy with implication. "Ryan," Benita started, but he held up a hand. "You don't have to say anything. I know our arrangement has an expiration date. I know you came here for an internship, not a relationship. I won't pressure you into something you don't want." "What if I want something?" He went very still. "What do you mean?" Benita stood, crossing the space between them until she was standing directly in front of his chair. Her heart was pounding so hard she was certain he could hear it. "I mean that I came here thinking this was just a stepping stone. A way to build my resume, get some experience, move on to my real goals. But somewhere along the way, it became something more. You became something more. Benita. I'm stubborn, remember? I don't change my mind easily. So when I say that my feelings have changed, you should know that means something." She took a deep breath. "I'm falling for you, Ryan Kyung. Against my better judgment, against all my plans, against everything I told myself I didn't want. I'm falling for you." For a long moment, Ryan didn't respond. Then he stood, bringing them face to face, so close that she could see the golden flecks in his dark eyes. "You're not the only one falling," he said quietly. "I think I started falling the moment you called me ridiculous in front of 30 women. I was right, though. It was ridiculous. It was. And it also led me to you." He reached up, gently tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "So maybe sometimes the ridiculous things are exactly what we need. Are you going to kiss me, or are we going to keep talking philosophy?" He smiled, that full, genuine smile that she had learned to love. "Has anyone ever told you that you're very demanding?" "Frequently. Usually right before I get what I want." In that case. When he kissed her, it felt like coming home. The morning of Benita's 1-month deadline dawned bright and clear. She woke in her suite at the Kyung residence, but she wasn't alone. Ryan was beside her, still asleep, his face peaceful in a way she rarely saw when he was awake. The events of the previous weeks had left their mark on him. There were faint shadows under his eyes, a slight tension in his shoulders even in sleep, but he was still the most beautiful man she'd ever seen. "Creepy to watch people sleep," he murmured, not opening his eyes. "I thought you were asleep." "I was. Then I sensed your intense staring." He opened one eye. "What time is it?" "Almost 7. The day we agreed upon. Both of Ryan's eyes opened now. He sat up, suddenly alert. The month is over. Yes. So. He searched her face. What's your decision? Benita sat up as well, pulling the sheet around herself. You know, when I walked through that wrong door a month ago, I had my whole life planned out. Internship, experience, my own company, global domination. Very straightforward. And now? Now I've helped take down an international conspiracy, discovered that I actually like fancy dresses, and fallen in love with a man who runs his wife search like a corporate acquisition. That's an exaggeration. It was more like a very sophisticated startup pitch. Not helping. Ryan laughed, pulling her closer. Tell me what you want, Benita. Not what you think you should want. Not what makes logical sense. What do you want? She thought about it. Really thought about it. About her dreams of independence, about her fear of being defined by someone else's success, about all the reasons she had to say goodbye and walk away. And then she thought about how quiet her apartment would feel without him. How empty her days would be without their debates and discussions. How much colder the world seemed when she wasn't by his side. I want to stay, she said finally. But not as your selection winner. Not as some trophy you chose at a ceremony. Then as what? As your partner. Your equal. The woman who's going to help you build something incredible, not because you chose me, but because we're choosing each other. Ryan's smile was brighter than the California sunshine streaming through the windows. I can work with that. There are conditions. Of course there are. I still want to build my own company. I'm not giving up my career to be a corporate wife. I would never ask you to. In fact, I'd like to invest in your company. As a silent partner. Silent. I know my limitations. You'd never let me have actual input. True. She held up another finger. Condition 2. No more selection ceremonies. No more choosing people like they're items on a menu. If we're doing this, we're doing it the real way. The ridiculous way, as I believe you called it. Exactly. The ridiculous, messy, unpredictable way that involves actual feelings and actual communication, and actually talking about our problems instead of running background checks. That sounds terrifying. It's called a relationship. Try to keep up. Ryan kissed her forehead, her nose, the corner of her mouth. Any other conditions? Just one. She looked at him seriously. Don't break my heart. I've spent my whole life building walls to protect myself, and you've somehow managed to get past every single one. If you hurt me, I won't. You can't promise that. I can promise to try. Every day. To be worthy of you. To listen when you tell me I'm being ridiculous. To choose us even when it's hard. He took her hands in his. Is that enough? Benita felt tears prickling at the corners of her eyes, tears she would firmly deny later. It's a start. Then let's start. Ryan pulled her close, wrapping his arms around her like he never intended to let go. Together. Together, she agreed. Outside, the city of Los Angeles was waking up, bustling with millions of people rushing toward their own futures. Inside the Kyung residence, two people who never expected to find each other held on tight to the impossible thing they'd discovered. It had begun with a wrong door and a moment of chaos. It would continue with intention, with choice, with the brave decision to let someone in. And somehow, against all odds, it felt exactly right. 1 year later. The headline in Tech Weekly read, Power Couple of the Year, Ryan Kyung and Benita Adeola launch revolutionary cybersecurity firm. Benita laughed when she saw it, throwing the magazine across the breakfast table at Ryan. Power couple? Really? You're the one who insisted on keeping your name. Very powerful move. It is my name. Why would I change it? Some people do. Some people are wrong. She reached for her oat milk latte, prepared perfectly by Ryan, as always, and took a satisfied sip. Besides, Adeola has a much better ring to it than Kyung. I strongly disagree. You're biased. I'm right. They were sitting in their new home, not the Kyung residence, which they'd agreed was too formal for actual living, but a beautiful house in the hills that they'd designed together. Modern lines, warm touches, a kitchen big enough for Benita to experiment with the Nigerian recipes her mother kept sending her. Speaking of her mother. Your parents called again, Ryan said. They want to know if we've set a date. Did you tell them we're perfectly happy living in sin? I told them we're discussing it. Your mother said something in Yoruba that I'm fairly certain was a curse. That's just how she shows love. Their wedding had become a source of constant entertainment for both families. Benita's mother wanted a traditional Nigerian ceremony with all the cultural elements. Ryan's mother wanted a Korean ceremony with equal attention to tradition. The compromise they'd reached involved 2 separate events for outfit changes and approximately 17 courses of food. It was going to be chaotic and ridiculous and absolutely perfect. We have the board meeting at 2, Ryan reminded her. Your company's quarterly review. Our company. You're an investor. A silent investor. I have no input, remember. The silence was your condition, not mine. She grinned. Though I do enjoy watching you try to keep quiet. It's painful. Physically painful. I know. She kissed his cheek. But you love me anyway. I love you because of it. He caught her hand, bringing it to his lips. I love everything about you, Benita. Your stubbornness, your brilliance, your habit of calling out senators at charity galas. That man still hasn't gotten over it. I hear he refuses to attend any event where we're on the guest list. His loss. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, the kind of silence that comes from knowing someone so well that words aren't always necessary. Hey, Benita said finally. Thank you. For what? For seeing me. That first day, when I walked through the wrong door and started yelling at you about your ridiculous selection process. You could have had me thrown out. You could have written me off as a troublemaker. But you saw something. I saw everything, Ryan said simply. My future, my partner, my home. All walking toward me in a sensible interview outfit, ready to change my entire world. Sensible? It was professional. It was adorable. Take it back. Never. Benita tackled him, and the morning devolved into laughter and play, the serious business of the world temporarily forgotten in favor of joy. Outside, the sun climbed higher over Los Angeles. In boardrooms across the city, executives made deals and built empires. In offices and homes and coffee shops, people chased their dreams with varying degrees of success. But in one hilltop house, 2 people who had found each other through a twist of fate celebrated the simple miracle of being together. It wasn't the life either of them had planned. It was better. And that, beautiful people, is the end of Benita and Ryan's story, but it doesn't have to be the end of our time together. If you laughed, gasped, or fell in love alongside these 2, do me a huge favor and smash that like button. It really helps the channel grow and tells us what kind of stories you want to see more of. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a new story. We've got amazing content coming up that you won't want to miss. If you want more Afro-Korean drama stories, check out the link in the description. And share this video with a friend who needs a good love story in their life. Until next time.